Everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uri Dawkins, with me tonight, Billy Beeman and Jake Cornblue. What's going on, guys?
Not much. Excited to be here. Seems like just exhaustion is the name of the game today, but we're going to power through this episode. Got some fun topics straight from the Discord and another one straight from my head. How you doing, Jake?
I'm good. Excited for this show. Do you not believe me? I'm excited for this show sheet. I think we have a good conversation going, and I really do like this resurfacing of one of the topics. I feel like this is maybe the second time we've seen this topic on a show sheet, and I think it's always, no pun intended, topical, but like even more so trying to find those specific windows on specific assets at the right time is really challenging. And I think it actually goes hand in hand with our episode last week, because we talked a lot about what that looks like. So per usual, Billy finds a way to add the actionability to the next episode like a freaking savant. So good on him. How are you doing, Uriah?
Oh, man. No place I'd rather be right now. No place. And like I like to say, I've always been worse, but I've also been better. So I'm kind of right there in the middle.
A healthy balance.
Thanks for the shout, the savant. I literally don't even know what I brought from the other episode. So it's just great subconscious. You know what I mean? Like I'm dialed in. I'm that dialed in. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. So it's just flowing. So I appreciate that.
Well, with that, let's hop into some news and nonsense. There's not a whole lot. I mean, there probably is a whole lot more than I was able just to think about real quickly off the top of my head. But one thing that kind of stood out was, just because it's kind of silly, Justin Fields got benched. Tyrod Taylor come in. And then there's the team owners meeting in New York City right now. And so they're, getting questions and stuff from the media, but from the team owners, and we're getting sound bites. And essentially, Woody just kind of like ripped into Justin Fields and said like, well, what's the coach supposed to do with a quarterback like that? Like maybe he could complete a pass or whatever. Well, then, I mean, that is what it is, right? Even though the guy's the one that wrote the checks, but now Tyrod Taylor might miss time and they might have to start Justin Fields after hearing all that. We don't have to talk about all that, but what I'm trying to think about is this organization is clearly dysfunctional, right? And we've seen good players go on to other places. Baker Mayfield's like one that just really off the top of my head, once he got away from Cleveland and Carolina, I mean, he's a good player. He was in a bad situation, highly drafted player. So my question to you guys is kind of like, should we still hold on and invest and not panic sell on these guys that are just in absolute terrible organizations? The ones who were drafted highly, right? Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields. What do you guys think? Breece Hall, yeah. See, I even forgot because he's in such a shitty organization. Like
Mason Taylor. Yeah. There's quite a few assets there for sure to give shouts to. I mean, I don't know how many different stops does Justin Fields need to get for us to be like,
it's not a him problem.
Mayfield thing, the Mayfield thing ain't happening. Like
Chicago with who? Right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. But like this situation isn't that bad. This situation isn't that bad. Like, yeah, the receivers aren't great, but when they were all healthy, like it didn't look great still, like I don't know. So, I mean, him particularly, like he certainly could be a candidate. But I mean, this is a great conversation to kind of lead into what our second topic today is, which is window shopping, which is, like this is probably a really good window to attack some of these guys. Specifically, I think Breece Hall, Mason Taylor, and you're right, Garrett Wilson falls right in there too. I think he's a great asset as well. So yeah, I mean, I think once Justin Fields is out of here, or they figure out the quarterback situation, or Breece Hall is gone, and just there's definitely a lot of different scenarios that can happen here. But the future, I think, is going to be bright for most of these guys. I'm personally not going to be betting on the Fields return to greatness, though. Jake, thoughts?
None. I have nothing to add there.
Nothing, all the same. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Cool. For this next topic, was just a conversation that happened in the Discord. Shout out those guys. Always staying active. I always feel bad, like I'm not in there as much as I should be, but like then when I go in there and it's just like people are just conversating, like they don't need me all the time, so they kind of carry themselves, and it's awesome. So
if everybody said that, Uriah.
well, I know, I get what you're saying. Yeah. If everybody didn't feel like
There
they
would
would
be no
participate,
conversation. Yeah.
no one would participate. Yeah, but what I'm saying is they do a good job holding it down, so it's cool.
They do. They're great in there.
All right, so the topic is, in theory, so talking about Gadsden or the 112, and so the idea is trying to navigate cold offers from your loved ones, people that you're familiar with trading, friends, that sort of thing. So Jake wrote here, and I did clarify the definitions of some of these words because we're not all as smart as Jake. But I think this begs a bigger conversation. The quote unquote, the manager is better. This manager is better than me. So are you more reticent, which means shy or restrained, to accept cold offers from the better, quote unquote, better manager, even if your values are disparate, which also means different or unlike? And to add that, so well, yeah, that's it. So let's start with Jake, man. What are your thoughts on this?
I just want to clear my name first and foremost. This was Tommy Blair who wrote this.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't trying to show anyone up with my incredible lexicon. Thank you very
Another
much.
big brain, though. Another big brain.
Yeah, sorry for the lowbrow folk in there. My
This show is amazing. This show is unbelievable. I swear to God.
Sorry that no one understands my jargon. Okay, all right, I'll move on. Anyway, I appreciate you leading this question to me directly. I really did like the idea that Tommy, when he wrote this, openly admitted defeat. I think that's like a very interesting perspective to have. And one of the like guiding questions to this conversation is like, are there other managers that you would openly state are better than you in the leagues that you play in? And I think for a lot of people who play any competitive game or participate in sport, that's never really a mindset that you're openly willing to accept. So I wanted to kind of call that out from the top. I wanted to reframe it within our own conversation amongst our loved ones, meaning like ourselves, the three of us, because I think we in our own right navigate trade offers relatively differently amongst ourselves than we probably do with the rest of our league mates. And I think a lot of that is based off of the things that we say in front of each other, the conversations that we have in the host channel, conversations that Billy and I have via text message. Like, we're constantly guiding and providing probably even more illumination on what we actually feel behind closed doors about specific players or whatever it might be, situations. And we can take advantage of that to an extent, right? And so when someone sends in an offer, a cold offer based off of no communication, I think we're all kind of, reticent. We don't necessarily want to be moving in on that offer and saying, you know what, like, even though I think that the value is better on the side that I'm receiving, like something is weird here. Like I should be a little perplexed as to like why Uriah or why Billy is sending me that offer. So just to kind of reframe from kind of where Uriah, where Tommy was, and shout out Tommy for your incredible vocabulary and having Uriah provide some very helpful definitions here for our listeners. I think like the biggest thing for me is when I'm receiving an offer from either of you that feels like a detachment from a previously known perspective of yours, I start to question it. And I think like that process is really difficult for me to get around, because I've heard or interacted with you say one thing, and then for you to go at it from another angle really makes me wonder if there's like a true test in that process, or if this is really just kind of needs based. And for instance, I feel like this unfortunately happened to me recently, where I went against like my own morals and guidance that I provide on this show in DU2, where, I was trying to interact with Billy on Mike Evans and trying to get in on Mike Evans for basically a fill-in play while my team continues to get healthy. And then, of course, unfortunately, Mike Evans ends up getting injured right after. But like, that's just not a trade that I would necessarily partake in on any other build except for this specific one. So I'm sure when I initially sent it to Billy, one, he was probably like, huh? What? Like, this isn't really a Jake type trade. And two, I was also underbuying because that's what I do. And then, Billy ended up getting the price that he wanted to, and I probably should have backed away at that point. But the whole point of me bringing up that anecdote is really because I do think that like negotiation process was probably really weird for Billy. So I don't want to necessarily talk for Billy, but just to kind of provide some, I guess, guiding words before we even really dive into the crux of this conversation.
Well, let me hop in and say, like, I don't think that I ever get an offer specifically from you, Jake, but I really either of you where the value is seemingly on my side and I'm like, why is he sending this to me? Like 90% of the offers I get from especially Jake, I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, no. Like, so I mean, it's funny because like that is a big difference, especially just in this group we have here, is like, if Jake is sending me an offer, I'm automatically much more skeptical than if Uriah is sending me an offer, because Uriah is usually sending me an offer that is kind of like his final kind of final offer around it, right? Where you're like, okay, like this is going to be either like a click or a quick counter and then I can move on. You know what I mean? So like, that's a big difference. Like I know that Jake is always coming in trying to gain an edge like I'm trying to gain typically, right? Which is probably a little more than you should be trying to gain, especially from somebody who kind of knows your angles and all that. So, I mean, that's definitely part of it. And then I would also say, like, one of the things that is really, I think, a big part of this is that when you know somebody so well, the only time that you can really get something done is when your teams are going in opposite directions, right? Like it's really difficult to get something done with somebody who you know really well when you guys are heading either both contending or both rebuilding, because like there's not going to be anything that you guys can kind of put together that will make sense, because you each are going to try to gain something. So at least in the other situation, you both can win and lose, right? Like, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to at least, like, if you're the kind of person I am or that Jake is, you're more often trying to like leave that thing feeling like you gained something significant and lost a lot less than whatever you gained. You know what I mean? And that's, so I think you need to find somebody who is kind of working in the opposite direction of you if you want to make it easier on yourself when it comes to these kind of deals in general. But yeah, like cold offers in general from people who you respect a lot. Yeah, like those are always ones that I'm super skeptical of. And I would say, like, do I think that people are better than me? Like I would like to think I respect people enough to where I would think they could be better than me, but I like to think that I can strategically and process oriented like work through that kind of stuff and beat them still. You know what I mean? So like that's probably just like a competitive thing, but I definitely respect people enough to think that they have better processes than me or different ones that can work in as successful ways as I can, if not better, especially people who have been doing this longer. There's plenty of people like that too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trading with you guys is it's entirely different for me than when I'm trading with literally any other league mate. It's just it's the amount of time we spend together, and I know the amount of work you guys put in. I don't know for sure off the top of my head the amount of work the other people put in, or how much time they spend looking at roster construction on the Dynasty Daddy, power ranks, weekly finish, literally everything, usage. Jake is very good at that. So do I think, like, for instance, I know that Billy is a better trader than me because he does not care if it takes 3 days of back and forth to get what was going to work for him and end up, essentially on top. out of all the trades that Billy typically gets done, 90% of the time, I'm looking at his side and saying, okay, yeah, you did. I don't want to get in that kind of boxing match with Billy in trade discussions. I don't want to do that. I'll probably lose, right? So when I'm trading with him, I think I send more cold offers to him than he does to me. Probably, I don't know. I'm not keeping track. But when I do, I'm trying to put it right there at the line. Sometimes over the line, where it's either one counter and it's done, or sometimes if there's any counter, because I know I'm giving up more, I'll be done. I don't think I could go 8 rounds with Billy in a trade discussion. I really don't.
It's funny. I want to go 2 rounds. That's it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I just, let's flip a coin, and then, whoever you call heads, I call tails, and like, let's get it over with, and that's who wins. And so it's different though with Jake. I know for a fact Jake spends way more time looking at the players. He's more keyed in on the usage level of things, the trade atmosphere, player values, all those types of things. I just know for a fact that he has more information than I do about the trade he just sent me. And oftentimes I'm just like, I don't really have time to analyze this. Not always necessarily bad trades, although he always starts really, really low, which means, again, I'm going to have to get in the ring and fight with it. So it's just different getting them for you guys, just because there's a level of respect and I know what you guys put into it. And it's 2 different very things. Like combined, y'all are would be like one of the top, dynasty players out there, given luck and injuries and all that stuff. But between Billy's trading strategy and
I'm missing a lot on my side, apparently.
Well, no, it's huge. It's like a huge part of the game. I know
it's
you
a whole half a person.
You put in a ton of work.
It's a whole
I'm just
person
saying. I know you put in a ton of work too with the usage and all that stuff, but my feeling is I believe Jake does a little bit more in that than we do.
It makes sense for sure.
So I'm looking at these cold offers from you guys differently. I'm not afraid to interact with them. It really depends on how far apart they are to start, because I don't want to have to do it for a long time. That's kind of where I am with those. I guess what I'm trying to say is send a little bit better offers, and we might be able to get more done. But I'm never like trying to get anything more than I think is like really fair, and like hopefully every once in a while I get lucky and I get a side that everyone agrees is a winning side. But ultimately I don't care that much. I don't do a lot of trades that I don't want to get done, so it's like I never feel like I lost or I got taken advantage at that time. But definitely there is something to it when it's just like one of the listener league guys or other leagues where I don't even know the people. I don't care. I just go off of value or whatever, vibes or team needs and all that stuff. I don't think about who that person is as much as when I'm trading with you guys.
Yeah, so like I don't know if Jake ever sends like on the nose offers to you, really.
No.
But like
well, no, he has. Yes.
but
and they still get rejected.
Because you're up to something.
What I would say is that more often than not, I'm getting an offer that is either like above market or like well above market, where it's like you put the line at such a place where it's like there's no point in like working through this, in my opinion, because of where you kind of started that at. And so for me specifically, it's like because we know each other so well, like it's hard for me to see how I get it down to a place that's not just like nobody's gaining any value here at all. And we're just going to move on from this at the end of the day. And it was going to be kind of a waste of time. You know what I mean? So it's like, there have been offers for sure. Like it's not like every single time, but there have been offers for sure where we just get them done. Usually they're lower value offers. And again, usually it's something like in DU1 where it was kind of what I was talking about before. You guys have the same, or I'm sorry, you have different goals, right? Opposing goals, exactly. Where it's like, I'm rebuilding, he's contending, he's willing to give me like straight up value first and, another player for one of the elite players, and we both are happy. You know what I mean? Like that can happen. But most of the time, like I'm getting something for one of my elite players that I just wouldn't want to really give them up for. And so it's kind of harder to navigate from that spot. But it's also like, and so I'm more thinking of like why the tactics don't work on each other that would work on other people. You know what I mean? Because it's something I would do. It's also like something I would do. So I'm very familiar with that tactic. You know what I mean? And I'm very like, my spidey senses are tingling when that kind of thing happens. So I feel like Uriah's way works better within a group of people that you are familiar with, because it's like, it's going to be pretty much no bullshit. It's going to be on the nose. And you know that if you send him something that's kind of close, even if it's potentially lower value on his end, he might still take it. Not a shot at you, but just more so that like you're willing to get stuff done, and you might not haggle about like minor details. You know what I mean? Even if it's losing, quote unquote, now, if you're going to be winning in 6 months or whatever it may be, that kind of thing.
A good one was that Travion Henderson one. That you wanted in League of Legends. You sent it to me with Caleb Johnson, because you knew I like Caleb Johnson, and I forget what the other running back was, but I was like, this is fine with me. They both haven't really done anything. It doesn't really matter.
But it looks pretty good for you right now. Whatever it was.
And instead
it was like it was like a second in Caleb, right? It was something like that.
It was Caleb and another running back. It ended up being the Nunn guy, but you had offered somebody else. I was just like, I'm really not interested in that guy. But I was just like one little counter, and you're like, fine, you got exactly who you wanted, and I got some guys that nobody else probably really wants anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to facilitate that when the value is it's whatever. So that's a good example, I think.
Exactly. No, it's a great example of what I was talking about. 100%. Trying to see I want to see what that trade was. Now I'm looking for it. Jake, any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I need to protect my name here as
oh my god. I feel like I really wasn't. It wasn't like shade. It wasn't like shade like that.
Every deal by coming in too low is what I heard.
No, you're coming in too high. Like you're well, I guess it depends on which side you're talking about, but
yeah. But no, please explain yourself. I want to. How am I coming in too high? I want to.
Or you're asking for too much in return is, I guess, the best way to say.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I really do like to gauge things off of like what the market says. And like, I'm not saying the market is KTC. I'm saying the market is like usually some type of unanimous voice about like what is occurring within the space. And if I feel like a specific trade might have more benefit to either of you from like a locality perspective, and I don't mean the location, I mean like how near you are to this specific thing that you might be trying to garner, right? That's usually winning games. I'm usually trying to go after that more than anything else. And like, that's a usual tactic of mine, is like trying to put points on your team with some cost by all means. Like for instance, like I think a really good one in one of the leagues recently was I sent Billy Odunze in like 2 seconds, I think, for Malik Neighbors. And it was like Billy's team was pretty thin, but he's 5-2 or something like that, maybe 4-3, but he's like clearly some type of like middling contender team. And I was like, oh, like if I can put points on his team, maybe the perception is that the team could be slightly better with Odunze. And, Billy was just like, nah, fuck you. My team sucks. And I was like,
that's like a nearly offensive offer. The fuck?
But like, I don't think that is though. Like, see, that's the thing is like, there's a huge difference between like trying to play the idea that there's like some asset in this that like has value and doesn't have value. But like Odunze at the end of the day, even right now, is still equivalent to 2 firsts. And it's like 2 firsts plus 2 seconds for a guy who's scoring you 0 points is not offensive. Like you might think that that's offensive because you think that Malik Neighbors is a top 3 wide receiver. Like that's completely valid, but it's also not an offensive offer. Like there's a middle.
I guess I also disagree with the value of Odunze in that case, because like
there's nothing to disagree with.
I think
that's the thing is like he is worth 2 firsts. Like that. I think that's like one of the biggest.
But why? Like who says that? Who says
the market does? Like I very well have sold Odunze multiple times so far in this season for 2 firsts. Like it
you
exists.
have before, but right now, is he worth that Like
Off of
values
what?
are
Two
transitory.
down weeks? Because
Just in general, yeah. Like I think you've seen he had like a really explosive week that really like increased his value, right? He had like a 30-point week or so. And it's slowly been kind of ticking down from there. And I also think just the situation isn't like, yes, we like Ben Johnson, but there's plenty of fragility in that situation. So like, I just don't think he's a slam dunk value like that in comparison to Malik Neighbors, especially
that's
attached to like 2 seconds.
That's not the point I was trying to make, but I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, I'm not trying to defend your valuation. I'm more so saying like the presentation of value isn't as offensive as what you're taking it as, is more so my point. And so like, I think like the differentiation for me is like, I send out trades all the time. Like I am very much a like spammer of trades. Like I send out trades in every single league, probably somewhere between like 15 to 20 in any given league. That's not like offers per week. Some of them land in your inboxes, some of them don't. And like for me, I don't even like foresee like value discrepancy like when an offer comes into me as like necessarily a bad thing. But for me, it's really down to how does this offer interact with my team? Like that's how I actually like to look at a lot of the work that happens. And one of the things that I provided in the conversation in the Discord was specifically that, because Tommy asked like, is there anyone in any of your leagues that like scares you or you think is better than you? And I outright said there's a guy in our server, shout out to Jay. He's in our best ball league, and I just know that he's really, really sharp in best ball. Like just right on top of strategy. I'm also basically an infant when it comes to the strategy of best ball dynasty, openly admitting. And you know, every time he sends me what looks like a pretty like absurd offer leaning in any direction, doesn't even matter like what direction it is going, I just know that the intent just, it's not nefarious, but it's like definitely undermining some value of my team, but I'm not necessarily understanding why. And like I think that inherently is naturally what probably occurs with a lot of our listeners in our DU leagues. Like if they receive an offer from any of the three of us, because I'm not saying that we are respected, but we are supposed to be, you know, some level of listener worthy. People listen to our opinions for whatever particular reason, which I appreciate. Thank you. But more so like there's something that we potentially know that they don't. So they will probably be more guarded. And in the same way that I felt about Jay's offers, and Jay and I, unfortunately, have never struck a deal. Surprise, surprise. And, you know, to Billy's point before, like we'll probably never strike deals on elite talent unless we're going in completely different directions, because we'll have to go based off of like some very unique circumstance, or else we think that the same players are elite, and therefore we would have to be selling the same elite assets back and forth, which is just, to me, pointless unless one team is, you know, not contending and the other one is, or one player is injured and the other one isn't, you know, something like that. So I totally get your point. That wasn't really what I was trying to say with that offer. I completely get the value differentiation. The only other thing that I'll add from my perspective is that when it comes to Uriah, because it is so on the nose in terms of the presentation of the value, like I do find that I have sometimes difficulty understanding the value, if that makes sense. Like I'll look at like other resources and I won't find that value anywhere else. So then I'm like, what is the gauge that is driving it? And then I'm trying to wonder, like, am I getting out too early? Am I getting in too early? Like, where am I kind of finding that sometimes? And I do find that there are other people that we play with that are very similar to that. And I shout out to Josh, because I think that happens quite frequently, where Josh will send an offer where, you know, the value is like a little bit ahead of the cycle per se. So like, for instance, I think I sold him Mason Taylor early this year for Mason Taylor with like 2/3 on top, I want to say, for a first. And I was just like, I literally sat there for probably like a good 2 hours on that offer, and I was just like, am I missing something? And truth be told, I do think that Mason Taylor will probably get to that value. Like, I think that he is
Probably,
a
yeah.
strong enough value of an asset that I think, Josh in 12 months from now will probably say to himself, like, that was a smash deal for me. I don't know like how the rest of his build will be, and like that's a potential downfall, like sending your first out that early. If you don't see the points value come back onto your roster in a succinct amount of time from the time that you've sent that. So that's the only downside to those types of deals. But Mason Taylor alone could be a first plus moving forward. So to get the plus on top of Mason Taylor could look really good. And I just wanted to shout him out because he is one of those individuals where I truly do get inbox offers, and I'm just like, I genuinely don't know how to react to this because it is so against the market that he's ahead of it. And I'm very much one to typically cash in if I can. Like JCM for a couple of weeks ago was like an easy slam dunk for me. And, right after I sold him, he had another massive game, and it was like, oh, maybe I could have gotten a first for him or 2 seconds or whatever it might be. And that happened to me last year with Bucky Irving. And so like, I definitely have my flaws too. Like there's definitely windows there to take advantage of my process. I just wanted to kind of call that out because that is something that I've noticed that I have a lot of difficulty with, is when someone is kind of ahead of the market in terms of value. And I think that an asset might be capped and not really truly understanding what that ceiling might look like, just because I think the excitement gets so extreme. So it brings it all back to the literal question of like Aronde Gadsden Jr. or the 112. And I sit here and I ask myself, and this was specifically in 0.75 tight end premium, it's like, that's really ahead of the curve, in my opinion. Like that's so ahead of like where I would be in my process. And that's why Tommy asked the Discord that specific question. It's because I think he looked at that and said to himself, yes, like I can't say no to this offer. Like I have to take the first. And he very much did. I heard it on Trade Addicts today or yesterday, where that trade definitely went through and Tommy accepted that trade. And now he's sitting there thinking to himself, like, I know this manager has a process that is better than mine. Like he constantly is overpaying for assets and gets in on the better side of them at the time. How do I get ahead of that? Or like, how do I guard myself better against that manager? And so that's the question I guess I'll now push back to both of you, is like, in a circumstance like that, like, how do you work through that? Do you not work with a manager like that? Like if I were to send you a slightly above market offer, let's say Aronde Gadsden after his big blow up game this past weekend is now worth 2 seconds to the market, and I send you a 112, like, are you accepting that from me?
I mean, in that specific situation, I feel like you're basically saying that like there is a clear history with this manager where he keeps, like, you can literally track, you see he keeps overspending and keeps hitting. Okay, like in that situation, if there's somebody who just happens to have like a gnarly hit rate like that, yeah, I'm probably gonna make them pay more than I would somebody else. Like if I see them do that, like I'm just gonna hold their feet to the fire and be like, okay, you've known something I don't know for the past 3 years, and maybe you know it again. Give me a first and a second. Like if you're really about this, like if you really want to be ahead of the market, give me a first and second. Otherwise, I'll just hold them and hope that you got it right again and follow you. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely gonna do that. But if that kind of track record's not there, I do think most of the time I'm probably gonna just be like, yeah, go ahead and take this, because the majority of time that I've been involved in those trades where somebody is kind of overpaying for an asset, who is blowing up, and they're doing it in the short term, like real quick, like Gadsden is, who totally could be a long-term value, but everybody is kind of chasing the dragon at this point. Most of those scenarios I've come out on top, you know what I mean? And so like it's kind of like one of those macro, like, follow the process things, process over results kind of deal. But I think the results have been there too. So it's really not process over results, it's process and results. And then this, I think, is a specific situation where somebody clearly just has an eye, is keyed in, understands what teams need, whatever it may be. They're just locked in and they get it. And you want to follow that person and kind of, ride their tail a little bit. So yeah, it depends on the specific situation for me, I think. Uriah?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. For the most part there, it's like, I guess it was 0.75, right? So, I mean, the tight end position, that's a premium.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just got to look at, I mean, I probably feel like the guy who's trying to get Gadsden has very strong feelings that it's going to be worth more than 112 by end of season. And it's not just based off of what you see weekly finishes or fantasy points, but there's a whole lot that built behind Gadsden leading up to this point with the coach speak. I mean, it was all there before he hit the field, and now you're seeing it on the field. And I think that's a bet you take. Like, honestly, if we see 4 weeks from now, I bet you this is the going rate for Gadsden. So it doesn't even seem that crazy to me in 0.75 premium that this couldn't continue, unless it's just been a fluke. Usage is up. It's not like he's scoring like 3 touchdowns on four targets. It's all there, and it's all backed up by the people who are making the decisions to get this guy the ball. So I don't even think it's that crazy. Let's just say I wouldn't have that much pause about it. Now, if I had Gadsden on my team and I'm nowhere near contending, say bottom, I'm in 9th place, 10th place, 11th, 12th, I'm cashing out. I'm cashing out for that very reason right there, and taking whatever value increase that is. That might be a bad process, but at that situation, that's what I would do. But if I was anywhere near contending or close to it, it's just everything else that goes with Gadsden, not just the name or not just the points he put up last week or the week before, but just kind of everything that goes with it. In my opinion, I don't think it's that crazy. It's not a random 112. It is the 112. So you know that that's not going to fluctuate from here to the end of the season. I don't know. Yeah. I just don't think it's all that crazy.
No, I mean, I definitely am kind of swaying to that side. I also, like, if I'm the person with Gadsden here, like, I'm not conceding to this person again. Like, if I know that this has happened over and over again and I've also been the victim of it, like, I'm personally not conceding for that value. I'm going to make them pay me. You know what I mean? And just going back to like the same point earlier of like putting their feet to the fire. But I do think that Tommy had said he basically like concede. He's like, I lost. Like, take my 112 again. It's like, no, dude. Like, I would, knowing him, just be like, either I'm going to benefit from your knowledge or I'm going to benefit from your knowledge by you paying me. You know what I mean? Meaning I'm either going to keep this player and he's going to be great on my team, or you're going to pay up for him now or in a few weeks, whatever, when his value continues to increase. But like, I do the 112 for sure. If it's it's the 112, like that definitely is obviously less valuable. So I would push even harder there. But I just wonder, like, what is Gadsden's ceiling value? Truthfully, like, could it really get to 2 firsts? Like, is that like a conceivable place? Like, maybe. So I just wonder, like, especially with these kind of assets, I mean, I guess it could be, Kelsey came out of nowhere. All these guys came out of kind of nowhere. So I guess it could be that situation again for sure. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that thing if I'm trailing somebody who has a history of being right. So I'm definitely going to be really stingy in that situation and make sure I feel good coming out of that trade.
Sure. I think we've kind of covered everything that needs to be covered here. And it got into a Gadsden value conversation, which I don't know if that's necessarily where we needed to go. So let's get into the next topic.
Cool. Next topic. Great one. Window shopping. So we're trying to look at buy windows, sell windows, those types of things. It's what we do in Dynasty all the time. So right now, I think we're just kind of going to look at some buy windows and see if we think it's there. If there is one at all, and it looks like Billy and or Jake add some context here. So let's start with the Jets that we were talking about before, Breece Hall. Obviously, everyone's down on the Jets, as they rightfully should be. Doesn't seem to matter what quarterback they have there at the moment, but Breece Hall, RB15, right behind Skabo.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it. I feel like Jake has kind of been on this all year. Hasn't really hit necessarily for redraft, but I do feel like he's been. The volume's been there. He's been pretty good in an underwhelming situation. Like, doesn't really have much support, from the quarterback position. So just find like behind Scatabo is just a far, far, far fall from where he was before. That just seems like a place I kind of want to get in on a really talented and still pretty young running back. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of the time to do it. But Jake, any thoughts there? Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where we talked a little bit about this actually last week, if I remember correctly. This exact situation, not knowing that Justin Fields is going to get benched, but basically, as soon as Tyrod Taylor comes in, I think that the team and offense will move more fluidly, which is exactly what it did. Yeah, he had 2 relatively mistimed and not well-weighted passes for interceptions last week, but I really just think that was because they were trailing and trying to just fight back into a game that they just weren't ever going to really get back into. But I think from like a tempo perspective, it's only going to help the running game. It's only going to help Brees in the dump off. This is the moment where you can get Brees probably plus for Scatabo, and the Scatabo Hive, unfortunately, is going to learn really quickly that this offense and probably team is going to, unfortunately and realistically, crumble. Losses like last week, like those are so demoralizing for organizations, even with like a super fun and exciting quarterback like Jackson Dart. And I just don't really see that this team will come back from it. And so, truth be told, this seems like the perfect time to either sell high and just turn it into complete liquid assets, or try and go to the side or slightly back and then get ample plus on a significantly better prospect in Brees Hall. So that's kind of where my mind is at there.
All right, some Scatabo talk.
I almost cried on camera.
Yeah.
All right.
That was brutal. Whew.
That loss was brutal. I mean, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. I'm sorry.
Except the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Every week. All right. Next one. Trevion Henderson, RB16. Value's holding strong still.
Yeah, I thought I'd be doing some window shopping on Trev Henderson, but that doesn't, like, I just don't even think that's his true value. There's no way that that's what people on their teams are like, yeah, I got the running back 16 on my team. Like, no way. So like, I would definitely be, I tried to send out a bunch of offers, to be honest. And I think it was like probably even over what his true value should be. Some seconds and stuff, and people are holding strong. So I guess this might be one that's not great for this list. I don't know if anybody else disagrees. I thought it would be, but once I dug into the valuation market wise, again, market's not always what the actual value is, but it just does seem like it's kind of holding.
All right.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
I was going to move on to the next one. It's not really to add, but if you do, so.
Just super quickly, I'm just looking at the trade database. Michael Pittman for Trevion straight up. Zach Charbonnet for Trevion in a second. Like, there's definitely outs. You just have to find, I guess, the right people.
Yeah.
Trevion for Kenneth Walker in a second. Like, that.
But like, I'm not. But you said Trevion and a second for Charbonnet.
Yeah, that seems like a smash, like, right? But I don't think you're going to.
I would take the Trevion side though. Like,
yeah,
I'm not taking. Yeah, okay.
I think Charbonnet for a second is like enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And even that's probably a little.
Though.
Trevion for Wandale in a second. Like, there's definitely ways to get in. I just think you have to be a little bit creative and show points onto the other side that might look a little bit more appealing, even if it is only for like a 12-week window or something like that. So they're there.
Not 12 months.
Yeah, I hope not, for his sake.
All right. Next one. Cameron Ward, quarterback 19, right near Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah. I thought valuation wise, he was around a couple wide receivers and whatnot. I'm just like, look, he's in a terrible situation, one of the worst teams in the league. He still shows some flashes of like real quarterback play. And I'm like, all right, that I can get in on at these kind of prices. So yeah, I think this is the perfect window shopping candidate. It's, terrible rookie season window. We know quarterbacks maintain value into their second year, sometimes even third. especially the ones that are drafted highly. And so I think you can kind of bank on his values, being stable at a certain floor. And so, yeah, I'm definitely in on grabbing Cameron Ward at this area. It may get even worse, but I just think you can get a guy like Cameron Ward for really low value right now in super flex leagues. Jake, any thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I agree. Honestly, I saw the show sheet and I sent out an offer. I sent out
That looks
Pearsall
good.
and yeah, it does. I sent out Pearsall and JCM for Ward right now.
Oh wow, I could see that getting accepted for sure.
Yeah. So I think that this is a good time, but honestly, the situation is so dire in Tennessee that I think you could probably even wait another
That's
couple
what I
of
was
weeks and continue to
alluding to.
watch the
Yeah.
value fall. Although with that being said, I do think that Mike McCoy did set up the offense to be a little bit more accommodating is maybe the best word I can use for Cam. And so there's definitely something there where I can see maybe like an artificial inflation and then a slight deflation of value depending on what directions you go. But regardless, I want to be holding Cam into the offseason next year if I own him now or if I get to acquire him. So yeah, that's my hope. And let's see if that trade gets done while we're on. And if it does, I'll let everyone know. Cool.
Next one, Kyler Murray. This one is actually interesting because Kyler Murray's out. We have Jacoby Brisket throwing dubs to my boy Trey McBride, which is all fun and everything for McBride owners, but we all know that Kyler Murray is capable of. He's just one of those guys that like people like to make fun of and all that stuff and like talk shit about. Like not as much as Tua, but Kyler Murray's better than Tua. I think. Well, you got him at QB 21 and Cam Ward is quarterback 19. I think
he's lower than Cam Ward is.
That's what I'm saying. I think the Kyler Murray hate's gone too far. I do think there's a buy window there.
Yeah, Trey McBride stands are gonna pull a Tanya Harding and break some Kyler Murray legs just so they can keep Brisket in there throwing touchdowns.
Tell me.
But no, yeah, like I think Jake threw this one on here. Good shout. I did see him, and I don't know why. I was just being like, I don't know what it was. I just like that. Maybe I just don't like Kyler Murray that much as a fantasy asset. I'm like, yeah, just let him fall and not talk about him. But it's a great shout because like this, we've seen this multiple times with Kyler, and this time, like it's not even that performance related. Like it's more. He was scoring fantasy points for your team. Like he was scoring for sure, like 18 to 20 fantasy points per week, which is perfect for you. But he wasn't doing anything for the other fantasy assets around him, which was pissing people off generally, right? Yeah. But like from a fantasy scoring perspective, if he's starting, like he's going to be solid. And if he's QB 21 value all of a sudden, just because we don't like him, you may as well get in on that value to resell it higher or take advantage of those points as a contender. That's just like where my head goes with the window shopping stuff. So it's a perfect candidate for this. You're trying to get in on these windows where guys are really, hitting a dip in their value compared to usual. And he's one of those guys, clearly.
Agreed.
Jake? Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Chase Brown, RB 23, near Kincaid and Etienne.
I mean, I'm no like Chase Brown truther, but
yeah,
like that valuation seems very dependent on the Burrow situation, obviously, but it seems very short-sighted. So I don't know. Like maybe Jake, you disagree with that? Is it not short-sighted?
I think that he is not a well invested in asset. And so I just don't think that he has longevity. He kind of lives in the same bubble as Kyren Williams, but the difference is that Kyren Williams continued to produce and therefore got himself another contract. I just don't think that's going to be the case for Chase Brown, unfortunately. And yeah, it's offense related, but I think even more importantly, it's offensive line related. And regardless if Joe Burrow is there or not, it helps by all means. I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't help. But I just think that team's setup is honestly so poor that even while Burrow was healthy
Mhm.
early this season, he looked so inefficient and so ineffective that, truth be told, this could just be the reality of coming off of a 230 attempt and 54 reception. So you're talking about a 280 touch season basically last year. I think he's just a guy who's just not used to that usage, and you're seeing kind of the hangover of it. I just don't know if he's a starting running back again in 2026. And so I hear it. It just really is going to be price dependent. And I don't want to do it for Kincaid, just given the optics on Kincaid and how bad that wide receiver room is in Buffalo. Etienne, I'd be a little bit more happy with if we're going like 1-to-1.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I agree with all that.
Okay.
This one I threw on there just because, you got something?
No.
No, I'm sorry. JJ McCarthy, just I'm glad you put these values there because we're not just like talking into another world, but like JJ McCarthy was one of those guys that even despite, because he hasn't really shown a bad performance except for this year. He had a couple bad games, but like we still haven't really got to see him all that much. Very exciting dynasty asset for people to have, and very anticipated for this 2025 season for him to be healthy. And now there's kind of like this: is he actually injured? Is he quote unquote getting soft benched and all that stuff? So I assumed his dynasty value would be even lower than this, but at quarterback 22, that still seems like maybe worth a shot. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that they're, one, I guess this is speculation, but do you think that they're starting Wentz because they think that they have a better chance of winning with Wentz and that JJ McCarthy is 100% healthy? Or do you think that this is still like a lingering injury? And is it something that we should try to buy into based off of maybe what other people's perceptions of the situation is?
Yeah, maybe I'm an optimist. I don't know. I feel like it's related to him not being 100% and them just wanting to take their time to make sure the quarterback that they spent, what was it, the 10th overall pick on or whatever. Yeah, I think they want to just make sure that he's healthy. Like I find it, and Wentz isn't even playing that well.
No,
like it's not like Wentz is like blowing the doors off or anything like that. So like, just to me, I don't know. It's the value is like, if I can move into McCarthy, you probably can't now with Bryce Young's injury. I don't know if I can get a plus on McCarthy for like a Sam Darnold, and I'm not like in need of Sam Darnold desperately. Like those are probably things you could possibly do. I guess I'm going to be the hopeful optimist here. Jake, what do you think? Are you just kind of just bailing on this, or do you think there's some opportunity to do some window shopping on McCarthy?
Yeah, I think this is going to be really builds dependent, to be honest. I can see it going either way. If I was a contender and I had McCarthy on my roster, seeing Sam Darnold sit there 2 spots behind him, Stafford 5, like there's ways to get into either of those assets with a solid plus.
Especially Stafford, probably you could really get into.
Yeah, you might even be able to do like Stafford plus 2 seconds for McCarthy or something.
That's what I'm thinking. I agree.
Yeah. And I'd rather be on the Stafford side, for instance, if I'm a contender, get actual points that I know that are going to probably be there the entire season. If I'm rebuilding, I think the McCarthy side makes sense. If I can do McCarthy straight up for, Stafford in 2/3 or something like that. Like, like it just depends on like kind of like the direction that you want to be going. But yeah, McCarthy's an interesting one. To Uriah's point, I haven't really seen anything of him, truth be told. I think that like we got, we didn't just get a like young stage or early stage quarterback in the sense that he didn't have a lot of snaps ahead of him. He like didn't have a lot of movement on his knee. Like I'm talking about mobility. Like he had a torn meniscus last preseason to the point where he wasn't practicing all year. He was basically just a student of the game, literally, but unable to perform that. So I thought he had a lot of flaws in his game personally, coming into the NFL. And so seeing him get removed from the opportunity to practice with the first team and Sam Darnold last year, I think is a huge huge step back for him. And I don't think that
Mhm.
necessarily removes his opportunity in the NFL. I just think it makes it even more challenging. And he's unfortunately also in an organization that is just in its bubble to contend with his cheap ass contract. And if he doesn't show up soon enough, I think that window will unfortunately pass him a lot faster than he wants to believe. And it has nothing to do with his performance. I think it just has to also do with injury luck. So he is a little bit of a risky asset here. I just really think it depends on like where and what direction you're moving in. But if I am on kind of that like fringe build, this would be the asset that I would be looking at. So, my DU3 team, for instance, this would be a move that I would probably do if McCarthy currently sits on a contender because I have Stafford. Like, sure. Like why not give myself a shot at that and see what it looks like? I just know that McCarthy, I'm pretty sure, sits on a tanking team. So that move's not happening. But anyway.
All right. Luther Burden, wide receiver 35, valued near Mason and Warren.
That's Jordan Mason, by the way. Jordan Mason.
Okay.
And Jalen Warren. To be clear, I guess those are two. There could have been two tight ends or two running backs.
I thought
That's
the tight ends
ridiculous.
at first. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the running backs. So much lower value than you'd think. I was been trying to do some Burden window shopping over the last couple weeks, and it hasn't worked out. I think he did have that kind of like it was like 4-catch game or whatever, where he had a pretty big game, and then it's slowly been a couple like 2 reception games or whatever it is. So there may be some kinks in the armor now. So I would continue to do the window shopping and see if you can get in on Burden, because I do think that over time he is going to develop there, and there's still a window to get in. So before it closes, I just think that we should be, trying to seek that value out. Wide receiver 35. I think that could jump up pretty quick. Thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, I think there's preconceived value here too. And it really does impact the market significantly. There's this guy out there, I don't know if you've heard of him, but his name is Matt Waldman. Really big fan of Luther Burden, which unfortunately fucks up the entire process of like trying to get into these types of assets for quote unquote cheap or in good windows. They just don't exist. Most of the people who own Burden listen to Waldman, or they've already acquired right after the rookie draft, and they're not gonna move off of them. That's kind of been my experience right now. Like I think I sent like 2 seconds for Burden, got countered like Burden and Travion for Dart and the 202 and the 302, and I was just like, yeah, let me go masturbate in the corner. Thanks. Like I'm fucking done here. Like I don't know. Like I didn't think 2 seconds was like that crazy. One of them literally was gonna be like the 203, and the other one will be probably like the 206. And we're saying no to that for Luther Burden. I think depending on my roster build, like in another space, I would happily accept that. So it's like I don't know. I just don't feel like people are as negotiable or movable as I am probably, and they have very hard and firm values on players, even if they don't see anything from them. So yeah, I think Luther Burden is just kind of he's stuck. You could keep trying, but I think you're gonna have to be chipping away at more than just their knees to be able to get to Luther Burden.
Yeah, fair enough.
TJ Hawkinson, tight end 13.
So this is sorry, I just want to jump in. This is an interesting one because like it's more of a question, I guess. Is this a candidate for this to like go window shopping on some Hawkinson? Because tight end 13 feels pretty low value, but just like thinking about the guys in front of him, Mason Taylor, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Colson Loveland, Harold Fannin, we'd obviously take George Kittle well ahead. But like, I just wonder, a lot of this to me feels, related to the situation there. It's just been pretty disjointed, from a quarterback perspective. Haven't really had, I think, a stable just roster construct there or chemistry to be able to build there. So yeah, like I just wonder if Hawkinson is worth getting into at that value. It just feels like over time he's going to kind of bounce back. He's still pretty young. We're talking about like a 27, 28-year-old tight end here. And I don't know. It just seems like a time to get in on him. Any disagreements, agreements?
No, I think I agree there.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of things that's like making him sub tight end 10 is
Mhm.
what we just talked about, JJ McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and all that. So, yeah, I think there's opportunity. There's a couple guys on the list ahead of him that I believe I could and would probably send for Hawkinson plus if I could.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to buy into Hawkinson during this dip just because I think that there's a space to get into him probably somewhere in the second range. I think he's literally sitting next to an IR'd Brenton Strange, like you were saying, a David Njoku who hasn't played in 2 weeks. Isaiah fucking Likely. Jesus fucking Christ.
I can't believe he still is maintaining value even near that, which is crazy.
Do you want to?
Isaiah
You know
Likely.
who's even worse than that? Elijah Arroyo sitting there at tight end 18. I think he's caught a total of 6 passes so far this year.
Yeah, like could you could tier up, honestly. You could tier up though to Hawkinson, right? Like there's that might be the play, is not even tiering. Like you could tier up from like some of these lower assets to Hawkinson pretty easily, I bet. Like I bet you could move Arroyo in something minor, like or a couple thirds or something, and
not a child. Got it.
Naba. Yeah, no, not what I meant, Jake. Good God. Yes. I don't even know where to go from there.
All right, next one.
Keep
We got 2 more and then some trades. We'll get out of here.
And we don't even know if we're going to get there with that comment. Good God.
All right. Brandon Ayuk, obviously, window closing soon. Wide receiver 46 right now, but for obvious reasons, he hasn't played all year. For whatever reason, he heals slower than everybody else at this point in time, which is kind of crazy. Maybe, yeah. So back at it, yeah. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 46, guys.
Heals slower than most. Wow. Just can't even let these guys get back to full form, huh?
Look at Taysom Hill.
He looks terrible.
But he's out there and he's old. He's got like 5 years on him.
Probably shouldn't be. Like
he probably shouldn't be. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, but again, this one is questionable maybe to even throw on here. I mean, he's sitting with all the other injured guys: Mike Evans, Jaden Reed. Jaden Higgins in there, Jerry Jeudy. Like, I'd probably take him over Jerry Jeudy, but like then you get it's funny. It's like Romeo Dobbs. Like, I don't know. Like at the end of the day, it's like I don't think I would trade Romeo Dobbs right now for Ayuk straight up necessarily. I don't know if you'd have to. I don't think I would either. Because you're getting a good amount out of Dobbs, but yeah, there may be a chance here. I don't know. What do you think, guys? You think, Jake, any opportunity on getting an Ayuk here? Or is the value a little high still?
I guess it really just depends on like what you're doing. You're getting into Ayuk for realistically his value to bump probably next offseason with the hype that he'll be healthy for the start of next year. Like, you're not going to get anything from him at the end of this year, in my opinion. He's going to be looking, to Uriah's point, he's going to be looking like Taysom Hill. Like,
so then his value might go lower from this, no? Like, it might get lower than this?
I think it's a possibility for sure. He's a tough one, in fairness. I just don't know how to value him because I don't know what he's going to look like when he's back. All I can say is that the organization doesn't seem overwhelmingly pleased with his condition currently. I don't think it's like against him, like he's not doing enough work or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. If I could, I'd probably get into Ayuk for Dobbs or Wandell or any of those guys that are around him. Higgins. Yeah. Yeah.
Last one. Rashad Smith.
Oh, interesting.
RB54, I guess the reason it's on there, he's a rookie and people want to see, try to catch these guys quick before they blow up. I would wait if like you want a Rashad Smith. I would wait until he's being valued at like RB30 something, like which means that he had done stuff. He had a really nice game last week, but obviously that's game script, very much so game script dependent. I would wait if I don't own a Rashad Smith and I want to get one, I'm gonna wait till I see a little bit more from him. Even at this price, is super cheap, but yeah, I don't care.
Sorry,
we were just talking.
Okay, running back
Okay.
54. Okay, no, go ahead, Jake. I just wanted to confirm. Go ahead.
No, yeah, we were just talking about TJ Hawkinson. He went for TJ Hawkinson basically straight up, which is crazy.
Rashad Smith.
Yeah,
Where?
yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. He went
That's
for a first.
crazy.
He went for a
Smash.
first today. I don't know if that's like the Aronde Gadsden offer, I guess. He went for
That's. Are you serious? What the fuck are we talking about right now? Like,
yeah, sometimes I do think that these databases are like collusion databases.
is that J Mike just trading for all these guys in different places? Like, what are we talking about?
By the way, I was so proud of myself that I guessed that it was J Mike just by seeing the trade offer, and it was J Mike. Shout out to J Mike. But yeah, I think that there's a path, like, and there's some really creative ways to get into them. But like, for instance, Luther Burden for Brashard Smith in a second. Like, give me Luther Burden. Brashard Smith for Carson Wentz straight up. Give me Brashard Smith. Javonte Williams and Brashard Smith for a first. I don't.
Javonte Williams for Brashard Smith in a first. I'd take
no Javonte in the first. I mean Javonte and Brashard Smith for first. Yeah.
Oh no, never mind. Sorry, that doesn't sound as appealing. Yeah,
Brashard Smith and a fourth for Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, like there's definitely paths to take advantage, and there's others that aren't. I don't know. It's one of those. To your point, there is a window. It's just whether or not the person who's owning it is in the window or not.
Yeah. Are they? Have they passed this window by, or are they? Yeah, can you see them or not? Like, so given those trades, it's funny. He's sitting around like 26 mid-third range, and like if we let him get to like running back 36, he's going to be around a second round pick. And like I'd prefer like what I'm seeing from him is just like him more involved in the passing game, obviously out of the backfield, which is what you want to see, to be honest. Like you want those high value touches, and he's just slowly getting more and more involved. Like I feel like it is kind of the Aronde Gadsden thing of not necessarily paying that much for him, but getting ahead of it so that you are reaping the rewards for it now. So like I would kind of be in on trying to acquire him here and there, but it does feel like based on what Jake was saying there, the market is kind of keen already to what's happening. So it might be more difficult than I'm thinking. So, try to see if there's anybody sitting in that window, but don't be surprised if you find it just empty.
Cool. Let's knock out some trades here. So we have also great discussion, by the way. Those two topics were awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
DU3. We have 26 seconds for Devontae Adams.
This was my trade. So, I mean, I guess I'll just explain context a little bit. DU3 team dealing with a bunch of injuries, got a bunch of high value players here and there, but just not, I don't think can really match the top teams. So I figure cut some of my losses quickly here. Yeah. Okay. Jake, considering himself one of those. So I moved on from Adams here at 2 seconds, thinking that honestly, I don't really think even after the 3 touchdown game, are you getting a first? Probably not, because everybody saw that it was like 5 catches for 35 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like that's obviously not super sustainable. And like the volume is there, but like the conversion rate is not quite there yet. Maybe that gets right over time, but I feel good about that value. I don't know. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, it's good value. I think that was probably good value in the offseason. It's probably good value now midseason. To your point, I don't think that it ends up increasing. Sadly, his value, I think, is actually somehow attached to Puka Nacua being on the field. So when Puka's healthy, he'll probably continue to perform better. Touchdowns are great, but we all know that you can't openly predict the amount of touchdowns. So assuming that he'll be able to catch another 3 in the next game is going to be not a fun game for you as a Devontae owner. I think this is the right direction to go.
Yeah, I'll say I traded for Adams almost exactly a week or a month ago, and I paid significantly less than you were able to get. So,
good on you. And also, I do think. Sorry, I just want to say, like, I think that the value is definitely on the pick side, but I think for somebody who's a top end contender, like Adams is a good piece, and like I would try to get it for less, but like it's not the worst thing you could ever do for an asset that's going to score points for you. So I think the other side got a decent deal. I just think the value long term is going to be on on those seconds. But, I could also completely fuck up those seconds in the draft or, trade for something terribly. So who knows?
Not if you listen to Dynasty Underdog player profiles.
That's true.
Hey, nice plug.
We'll just draft Trevion Henderson,
Yeah, that was my
happen.
RB1. RB1.
Caleb was my RB2.
I'm sticking to it. Let's see what happens.
All right. For different leagues, Darren Waller for either 26 or 27 thirds. Guessing this is Jake's.
Well, one of them was me, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One was me. One was Billy. There was another one in a DU league elsewhere. I think 3 of them were DU leagues, and then another one was a random league. So I was just saying it's happening. That was his value prior to this weekend. And now he's back to. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we can move quickly here. I just wanted to say, I think that this is a great example of why you try to get out of one of these assets quickly.
Oh yeah,
like Darren Waller, who comes back. He was injury prone when he was in the league, before he left. He's not going to come off of the street, out of the booth, hit the field and not have any injury. He came in actually with injury issues, and I think he was on the PUP or whatever it is, or the NFI list, whatever the hell it was, leading up to his performance. And so my point being is with any of these assets that are Rob Gronkowski, you pick up off whatever it was, that happens every once in a while. You need to get out of them quickly. And it's worth picking them up. It's just, I think that's the point of this. It's not really we got a third, obviously a third for Darren Waller, especially hindsight 2020 is the move, but it's more the process and the thought of pick these guys up, get out of them, and don't wait for them to get injured or become valueless. Same with the quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, all those guys, which we'll hit on very quickly here in a minute.
All right. Dalton Schultz, Romeo Dubs. I'll always remember Billy being higher on Dubs than anybody else, and he's been just fine in the league. He's been just fine. Dalton Schultz, Romeo Dubs, Keaton Mitchell for 26 second and 26 third.
I'll just throw some context out here because it is my trade. I do want to also say Dobbs is the only player that actually qualifies as a guy who I found before the fantasy people or the NFL people found him.
Oh yeah.
Except for Green Bay, who got him in the 4th, but literally nobody knew him when he got drafted in that draft. I remember that, except for us. That was pretty cool. Anyway,
that was cool.
So I bought the player side on here. I won the league last year. This is a league. It's kind of like a Empire League. It has those elements of it. So, but it's more dependent on people winning multiple times in a row and completing a whole bunch of tasks and shit like that, which is not super relevant to this. But point being is that nerds, exactly. I won the first year, so I obviously want to try to really keep that going because that's the whole point of this format and everything. So, team was a little fragile. Lost some Puka, lost just a Joe Mixon team, a Kittle team, just a lot of stuff going down, but I have really strong at the quarterback position, really strong running back, just strong kind of all over the place, except for depth and probably wide receiver is my weakest position at this point. So I figured this is a cheap way to get in on some points in general. And Dobbs has some long-term value. Schultz should just keep scoring points because nothing's going to change there. Schultz. And then Keaton Mitchell was just a throw-in, obviously. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, even without the explanation, but especially with the explanation, I think the player side here too. So you're contending. Your second and third aren't going to be all that big. You want to keep going for it. Yeah, I like the players.
This just feels like a very on-the-nose offer. Second straight up for Dobbs. Third straight up for Schultz. Get a throw-in for Keaton. That's your added value. Boom. Handshake. Move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out Jagger May. This is a trade between him and myself. And he actually, he just kind of put a hard line. I did try to get it straight for my initial offer was a second for these players. He bounced back with this. I said to him, can we just drop the third and Keaton Mitchell? So just make it Dobbs, Schultz, and the second for a second. And he came back and he was like, look, really, I'm not moving Dobbs for less than a second. I'm just not doing it. And then I feel like I need to get back, a third at least for Schultz, given kind of the points he's scoring. and everything. And he's like, I don't give a shit about Mitchell. And so I just accepted. I just accepted the second and third. And I responded. I was like, honestly, like, fair enough, dude. Like I do the same thing sometimes when I'm in these situations. You kind of have to draw a hard line and be like, give me my value, because I'm kind of moving the other direction, and I need as much as I can to keep moving forward. And so I just think from a negotiation standpoint, it's, worth taking a little page out of that book, because it's something I would do, and something when he did, I was just like, yeah, like I get it. And I also need this to get done. And it's a cheap way to get into points. So it works for both of us. Let's just move on. So you try, but sometimes you got to compromise.
Cool. Next one. Flacco. Elder abuse. Joe Flacco for 27 third and 27 fourths.
Amazing.
I think this is I think this one and the next one are really just more PSAs similar to the Waller one, which is, this is why you roster these backup quarterbacks. It's funny, I like, there are no backup quarterbacks in any of our leagues anymore, and I do think it's like partially because they're on all of our rosters. Certainly, like a quarter of the backup quarterbacks are on my teams and in a few of my leagues, so I'm sure they're on yours too, like some of the guys that I don't have. And so you just see with Andy Dalton, he was just like the biggest waiver wire ad for most 25-30 roster spot leagues. Like you roster these guys, you can move them for these championship tokens. That's really the point here. It's not like who won the trade. Like that's irrelevant. Like you got a third and a fourth for a guy who came off waivers, like, and who is going to go back onto waivers in the next calendar year, or would potentially, you know what I mean? Like that's his cycle. And so it's like, you should just, if you have a spot, like, and you can stomach it, keep these kind of guys who you have seen have past success on your roster and just reap the benefits, reap the rewards of it. I would not be surprised if the people that I traded Flacco to and this next trade, if they don't drop them by the start of next season, you know what I mean? And you can pick them up again and almost do the same thing. Like, it's not guaranteed, but I can see that happening with a lot of these assets.
They 100% will, knowing who those people are. Can I just shout out really quickly? And this could be the last thing to add to it. Shout out to NWO Joe. He's in our D3 listener league. I just wanted to call out the fact that his quarterback room is Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Tyson Badgett, like the chicken, Jalen Milroe, Malik Willis, Carson Wentz, Joshua Dobbs, Tyrod Taylor, Tyler Shubb, Jimmy Neutron Garoppolo, Cooper Rush, and Andy Dalton. So to Billy's point, when you control that room the way that he has, that's also points that aren't being started on other contenders. So if other teams are in dire need, they will have to only come to him because he has basically every single fucking backup quarterback. And look at that. He has hit on 4 of those guys that you would probably say to yourself are useless in Carson Wentz, Tyrod Taylor, Cooper Rush, and Andy Dalton. Sure, he didn't get off of Cooper Rush, but there was probably a brief sell window where he could have. But yeah, I think to Billy's point, there's something there to it. This might be the extreme version. Is if there's a QBX, this is like QB4X or something like that,
Bargain brand QBX for sure. Like,
he has 2 real starters and then the rest are backups, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different game you're playing for sure, but it's I think that there's real advantage to it. We've seen it over the past couple of years be really fruitful, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Marcus Mariota for 2 times 27 fourths.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I mean, it's the same thing.
You're
free money.
Yeah, free money. The guy who's getting the player is going to get some points on the team for a couple weeks, or maybe the rest of the season if it's Flacco or something like that. And that's just the price you pay.
Don't try to put lipstick on a pig here. Don't do this. Like, only be the person who acquires these picks. Like, if you have them on your team, and if you have Brissett on your team and you need to fill in, like, great, it worked out. But if you don't, don't chase that shit, because yes, maybe Brissett gives you a game or something here and there. It's possible, but you're probably gonna have to pay more than you would like. You're just as well starting like if you have an extra, Mark Andrews, which is like the low side of things, if you have like, a George Kittle to fill in, like it's the same shit. Like you're getting 15-ish point, like don't chase down those points on, especially the Marcus Mariotas. Like they're not giving you anything close to that. You know what I mean? So like Joe Flacco may give you something, but like there's like a really low end where like you basically traded 2 fourths for nearly nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and something that's not going to be a difference maker on your team. That's really the point, is like you're not getting a fill in, truthfully, most of the time. Most of the time, here and there, you get it. Joe Flacco may be the exception, and there's some other ones like that. But I just think it's good business. So that's all I got. Jake, you have anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, I just have some slight pushback because Marcus Mariota, in fairness, on Washington has been incredibly successful from a point scoring perspective. In his 4 starts, in his 4 starts over the last 2 years, last year he had 1 start in week 7, 20 points, 1 start in week 18, 26 points. And then this year he had 1 start in week 3, 20 points, and 1 start in week 4 at 17 points. So like, I get the notion, but I do
Mariota
think
may be the exception to that. Like he definitely has been good in his starts. That's fair.
Yeah, I just didn't want to poo-poo a guy who honestly isn't that terrible, but I get the sentiment and I agree with you for the majority of the other guys.
Yeah, he may be a better fill-in for actual point scoring than most are in terms of backups. He does have that rushing floor, and he does kind of fill in for exactly the similar role that the quarterback plays there. So that's a fair point.
That's the thing that doesn't make sense. Like the Cooper Rush being the backup to Lamar, like where the fuck did the GM think that made any sense?
They also but they have Tyler Huntley. That's the craziest part. Like, why is he not the direct backup? Because he's also been like not great. Do they not have Tyler Huntley? Am I tripping?
No, they do, but they didn't have him rostered at the beginning of the year. So you didn't even sit through the offseason with him. It's just like one of those stupid things where he should have been sitting there on practice squad or whatever it was. And
he's been his backup in the past, and he's been moderately successful here and there. So yeah, like I don't get that shit either. It drives me crazy. And those situations, it's definitely contextual. Like I do think that they can offer sometimes some fill-in points, but like I'm probably still not chasing them because like I don't think it's guaranteed. Mariota though has been really good in that situation. That's fair. Yeah. That's all I got.
Anything else you guys want to talk about?
That's it.
All right. Well, everyone join the Discord if you can. I'm sure Billy will put the link down here somewhere. Shout out to all the people who do tune in to listen to us, which is still, I think, kind of crazy. Appreciate y'all. And other than that, have a great night.
Peace out, everybody. Thanks for joining.